One cool mechanic in Demonschool is how the phase system in combat works. So there are two phases, the planning phase and the combat phase. In the planning phase, you click on your characters and the board highlights where they can move and whether or not they can attack. Once you select a target destination, the character will move to that point. You will be able to see the damage done to the enemy if there is an enemy there, as well as any other effects on them. But that's it for now. Once you have finished your planning phase, the board resets to how it was before the planning phase started, at which point the board becomes alive and your character start performing the actions you planned out. This time with full animations, VFX, and if you use a special attack, a cool HUD animation. This coupled with the fact that there is really smart AI behind the scenes where if a character is not reliant on another character performing an action before them, then they will go ahead with their actions at the same time as another character, as there is no reason to wait, which makes for a really cool spectacle every fight. Another cool mechanic in Demonschool is how the AP system works. AP is action points, and you have 10 to spend each round across your entire roster. The first trick this game uses is that for every action one specific character does, their next action will cost 1 more AP. So if one character, Faye for example, does one move, then one attack, then one move, their next move, being their 4th attack, will cost 4 AP to do. This coupled with the fact that you can use any character in any order really adds a significant layer of depth to what moves you do in what order with what characters. As the more you use one character, the more expensive using that one becomes for that round. Really cool. One cool mechanic in Demonschool is just how many features the game gives you to plan the most optimal round you can. So firstly, in the planning phase, you have an option to rewind any move. You can do this any number of times right to the start of the first move in that round, which is unlimited freedom, which I don't see too often. Secondly, there are no restrictions on character order, meaning that you have more tools in your arsenal to combine moves and attacks in different ways. And thirdly, the player has complete knowledge of how friendly and enemy characters work, their stats, their abilities, their strengths and weaknesses, etc. This all leads to a situation where the player isn't trying to figure out how to defeat enemies, but how to defeat enemies the best way they can possibly defeat them. This is a core tenet of combat, obviously justified by the turn number target for each fight. If you win the fight before or on this turn number, you get a bonus, which really elevates everything I've just mentioned. One cool mechanic in Demonschool is a small one, but worth pointing out. Every move in combat costs a turn, which costs AP. However, there is one small move which doesn't, the sidestep. Because of the board you play on and the character's movesets you use, movement and options are very strict. This alongside the fact that you can't just move one space regularly, you always have to move to the end of your range unless you are stopped by a wall or enemy, makes it, in theory, really frustrating to do precise movements. The devs knew this, and to counteract this, they added a free move which allows you to sidestep to an adjacent square. This one move, firstly, it greatly de-risks player frustration, but secondly, like with a lot of things in this game, opens up a lot of avenues for strategy and player agency. Another cool mechanic in Demonschool is that you don't actually have to kill all the enemies in order to win a fight. At the start of every fight, you will be given a target number of enemies to kill. As soon as you reach that number, if you have enough AP that round, you can make a mad dash to the exit. This is a great mechanic for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it adds an extra layer of decision making when it comes to managing AP and your position on the board. If you think that you can get out that round, you need to manage the AP of your characters so that you have enough left to make it to the exit that round. Secondly, it was probably really great for development of combat encounters as well. Instead of having to tune the number of enemies per wave so they had great pacing throughout, instead you can just keep chucking an increasing number of enemies in and rely on the player to dip out when they can. Well, there we have it, 5 cool mechanics in Demonschool. I feel like Microsoft, the developers behind this game, really knocked it out of the park when it comes to what they call this new style tactics RPG. Now, I could have made potentially 10 cool mechanics in this game just on the combat alone, because the combat is so interesting, versatile, dynamic, and it's all based around this idea of giving the player as much agency as possible, which I think is great. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this. And yeah, keep on keeping on.